And we are live. Hello, everyone. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm Jessper Maquindang, and if you're a leader or manager who wants to build a stronger team and a great company culture, you're in the right place. In each episode, we provide strategies, insights, and advice to help you just that, building a stronger team. And we have a special guest today, Brandon Burbank. And as we welcome him, let me share his introduction. Brandon Burbank is a mental health advocate, author, and speaker. He was born and raised in Whatcom County in Washington State. Brandon has an associate's degree in arts and sciences with business classes. Brandon is author of the book Come Back to Success: Relentless Commitment for a Better Tomorrow. His book is included in the Los Angeles Public Library catalog. Brandon specializes in doing talks on mental health, speaking from a peer to peer perspective. He has his peer to peer counselor certification from the Washington State Healthcare Authority. Let's welcome Brandon Burbank. Brandon, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jessper, for that wonderful introduction. I'm happy to be here to answer the questions and just to be present with you to help other audience members so that they can grow in their own career paths.
Excellent. I'm very excited for today's conversation because we're talking about this idea of kindness. Very interesting, especially as it relates to the workplace. I'd like to know, Brandon, tell me about the research in kindness in the workplace.
Well, as far as the kindness in the workplace research that I have that I know of is it's more around with mental health challenges and the people that have been impacted by mental illness. The two statistics that I have are one, according to NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness, 1 in 5 Americans is living with a mental illness.
Wow. 1 in 5. I'd like to know your perspective on that. How do you feel?
Well, overall, I think it's very valid to see there's actually more people that are impacted by mental health. And it's definitely an impact in our workplace environments because you never know who are being impacted in our own workplace environments who have challenges with their mental health, whether they are diagnosed or not. The other fact of the matter is that, Jesper, there's millions of Americans who are actually undiagnosed, people who don't have a diagnosis and who are going through challenges. One example for you, people don't come out with their diagnosis until like maybe they're in their 30s, 40s, or 50s, and so they struggle with that in silence and not having the right support. So that's why it's important to be kind towards our coworkers.
Very interesting. Tell me more about the research in your field.
Sure. Another statistic for you is according to the National Institute of Mental Health, over 50 million Americans are living with a mental illness. 50 million. And that's a pretty sizable amount of people who are impacted. And that's the reason why there's a lot of people who are successful with their diagnosis, who are working a normal job and trying to live a happy and healthy life. I am included in that statistic as well.
50 million. I want to know your personal feelings about that number. I mean, 50 million, that's a lot of people.
That is the reason why I started to change my life and having to embrace the challenges that I've been through so that I can then better equip myself to serve other people and being able to change my own mindset and allowing myself to position myself better to serve others.
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up because the next question I had in mind is about your inspiration. How did you develop your passion for this idea of kindness in the workplace?
Honestly, Jesper, the way that I best learned this gift is through the power of persistence. I have been through so many different life circumstances, challenges. That's what I talk about in my keynote as well. And I share from real life experiences where I've been totally dragged in the mud and had to get back up on my own 2 feet again, which is where I'm at now currently.
I'm curious to know, you mentioned keynote. Could you give us some 1 or 2 key points in
Yeah,
your
of
keynote about getting back up on our feet?
Of course. Well, so what I talk about in my keynote, I help people to give them more mental health awareness because people might not know about mental illness as much as I do. But if I can give them more some specific examples about what I've been through. For example, I've been through homelessness and homelessness recovery, and I've also had to. That's part of my keynote. The other part is return to work phase, and what that looks like is how I when I went through some mental health recoveries and some mental health challenges in my process of going through hospitalizations, things like that. I had to pick myself up and say, how am I going to make money? How am I going to get back to work and being an influential person? And I had to train my brain to say, you can do this, you can succeed.
I'm curious about that, this conversation that you have, because when people face with challenges, many times they feel down and don't know what to do. I was curious to know about the conversations that you had with yourself to really pick yourself back up and motivate yourself back to just the light at the end of the tunnel to see brighter days ahead.
Yeah, Jesper. I would say the biggest piece of advice that I could give to people is you have to surround yourself with a supportive network of people. And so, for example, in the workplace environment, if we can be more uplifting and positive with our coworkers, and we don't know their whole entire story, so that's why we only see part of their lives. And when we're helping other people by being uplifting, positive, the other word that comes to mind right now is empathetic. What I mean by empathetic is means that you're being able to be an attentive listener, kind to the person that you're talking to, and trying to understand if they have a problem. So, for example, say you're in the workplace environment and you're at work with, and you have a coworker who's not doing, there's not doing their job effectively. It might be important to have a conversation with that coworker and asking them how you can better serve them so that we can collaborate better as a team.
That brings up to the next point. Why should people pay more attention to this idea of kindness?
Yes, when it comes to being able to be more kind towards other people, it changes the company culture. And so say you whether I don't care if you're in a large company or a small company, each company has its own company culture, but you can totally stand out by in this group of people by being kind towards other people. And I'm not saying like being like super like, yes, hey guys, how's it going? That used to be me in my past, but I'm talking like being present, just being able to embrace where you're at and have a conversation that's effective yet intentional with the people who you communicate with in your workplace.
Interesting perspective. And I've met two different types of leaders who, when it comes to kindness, there's one who is just focused on the goal, and their thought is, regardless of how people are treated, we just need to reach that goal no matter what, because the goal is a goal. Why should we put kindness as a priority? What are your thoughts to those leaders, and how should they approach that situation?
When it comes to being kind towards other people and you're in a leadership role, if somebody fails, that's on you. And I feel like I'm called to do that. Why, as I transition in my own speaking business and what I'm doing with my career right now, I'm trying. If somebody doesn't hire me to speak, I need to ask myself why. Why am I not getting these gigs? And start to. I'm going a little off topic here, but I'm going to go back to
Yeah.
the talking about the kindness answer is just that we can kindness is very contagious. And so when we can
Yes.
create a workplace environment with people who are kind towards other people, it creates more harmony. It reduces absenteeism. So people will actually be continually being participating at their workplace environment and effectively achieve the large goals that the company has as a team.
And there's another type of leader that I've come across, and I'm sure the same results that you just mentioned apply to them. But I'm curious to get more of your perspective. But I've met those leaders who see this idea of kindness as kumbaya. It's holding hands, high fiving, hugs. What does that have to do with the overall uh, business operations? What would you say to those leaders?
When it comes to the supportive atmosphere and the environment, it's depends on the company culture. Because if some people, if you're in suits all day, you can cheer with you with the success that you're doing, but it's like just trying to I would say accept wherever the company is at and what seems comfortable, because you don't need to do like the whole kumbaya thing, you could just be like, hey, good job. It's just a matter of how you communicate towards other people that's effectively going to help you be present with other people, and really acknowledging the compliments when it's due, when it's actually like when it's the right timing for you to actually compliment your coworker. Hey, good job on finishing that assignment. Good job. Now we can move on to the next task. That would be my answer with the whole kumbaya versus, and recognizing your company culture. They might not be as like, you know, kumbaya in a way.
Brandon, I like how you said meeting the culture where it's at, because I know there are leaders who just have just a really different vision about how they should lead. Some are a little bit too extreme, and some are, as you say, laissez-faire, where they're not putting much effort. Where's the right balance in really promoting the sense of kindness into a culture?
I think the balance is just to let it come out naturally, but also have an effective goal. You could, for example, I've worked in other companies where they have star teams, where they have people that are working on extra curricular related things in the within the workplace environment. And by having like a team of people who get together and work on different projects that are within the company or within the organization, can definitely be another great avenue to help people, to help the workplace environment run smoothly, as well as with a kindness base.
Excellent. And if a leader or manager wanted to add some kindness activities into the workplace tomorrow, what ideas do you have for them?
As far as some ideas for adding ideas, I would say starting with a maybe like creating some huddles, some team huddles, where the manager and then the employees, they're your coworkers, can come together and have an open dialogue on how things are going, and just like, hey guys, I'm just checking in with you, do you have any questions? And then you can possibly have another topic of discussion that can give people more ideas, and you can maybe even hire a guest speaker on some of these huddles or these staff meetings to better approach challenges, and really recognize, because you don't want to waste time either. You don't want to waste all your time doing something that's not being productive. But it's like, but being able to give people a place where they can be transparent with others, and open communication, open dialogue, that is key towards a harmonious and healthy workplace environment.
Excellent. What I like about these huddles is that it really promotes communication. And speaking of these team meetings, what types of questions should managers and leaders ask to really promote that kindness into their huddles?
Some questions could be, how do you feel our company is performing right now? And where do you feel like you need extra support or extra help? And maybe you could just give this, um, you could make it more anonymous, so people don't feel like they're being focused on too much. And so by making it anonymous, you're just allowing the managers, who are the leaders in the role, to better serve the whole group. And because at the end of the day, the leaders, they're getting paid more money, but they also have a higher responsibility level to serve, to work alongside their other cohorts, other coworkers.
Brandon, you just mentioned a powerful insight that I want to highlight. When leaders and managers ask, "What can I do to support you?" that really opens up the space. I was curious to know, from your perspective, what happens when a leader or manager doesn't open up that space? They don't ask those types of questions where they don't offer support to their employees. What does the impact look like from your perspective?
Well, if the necessary communication, um like lanes aren't accepted or aren't allowed, it creates a toxic workplace environment. And just from my own career path of working in different companies and different organizations, it definitely strains on people. They feel like they're not actually getting along with other people, and they're having a hard time with overall the flow, and then it causes people to quit their job, or move on to something that's more fruitful or beneficial for what they're looking for. So that's why, in general, it creates a more toxic workplace environment than what could be. It could be changed.
And in that work environment, what can employees do to promote co- uh, kindness with their team?
I think it also starts from the individual level. A lot of people can really learn to I call it self advocacy, and I have to do this with my own mental health challenges and with my own mental health journey. By being able to recognize what I need. So, for example, in the workplace environment, if you need to be have your own space or have a right routine that helps you get your job done consistently, that could be a great form to help with that process.
Excellent. And when it comes to kindness in the workplace, when a leader or manager actually recognizes a kind act from one of their teammates, what are ways they can celebrate that?
I would say it's also you can create healthy competition within the workplace
Oh,
environment. So if somebody, for say you're in automotive sales, and the highest person that sells the most cars that month might get a prize on top of the bonus for what they're doing, and by maybe putting out bonus opportunities for people, because all money is great and everybody wants money, so that's why people can use that as a way to reward others as well as for their hard work in the and it creates a healthy competition for people to try and earn that opportunity, and getting those bonuses are a great incentive.
excellent. And what are other ways that leaders and managers can promote kindness?
Yeah, well, another one that I was just doing about in my school class stuff, is creating maybe some like a restaurant of dinner parties or just some catering opportunities so that you allow people to maybe on their break to eat some food, some night a quality cater company on the restaurant that you can cater for, and then allowing that allows people to come together in community over food. And food is a great conversation starter for people to just work on themselves while also being with their coworkers to have another different angle to learn and grow with each other.
Food is a great way to start conversation. What other ways do you see as promoting kindness in the workplace?
As far as other promoting kindness, I think it's also like how the benefits are oriented within the company. Because say for example you have kids and your stress level is high because and you're working a high stress level related job, you can the company might have an incentive that can pay for childcare or part of childcare. That is a great way to and it alleviates some of the stress in that person in that employee's life. And also with the other benefits like getting a gym membership, that's another incentive to help give people more freedom to work on their health. And when people are healthy, they're not missing work because they're also feeling like they're appreciated and valued.
Excellent. This idea of kindness really does promote the sense of wellness and well being.
Yeah.
What else do you see as the overall impact of kindness in the workplace?
I think also kindness, like it spreads outwardly. So when with the combination of working with other people as well as the leadership roles, if you're doing business with other people or wherever you're doing business with, it totally improves your reputation as well. So overall, your reputation can improve because you're being able to you have a quality team who's wanting to effectively has the same motives, has the same goals, that they're trying to accomplish together. And when you make it more focused around what we can do as a team versus just me, and making it more about them, that's a great way to appreciate the values of the people you work with, and that promotes kindness.
Excellent. And then would that reputation apply to the organization level for the full company culture as well?
Yes, I think so because when you're doing business with other people and you like start with a firm handshake or a hi, how's it going? Hi, welcome here, welcome to this, welcome to our company, and you're having a conversation with somebody who's outside of the company, you're setting the tone every single time. And so for me, like when I do talks, do press professional speaking, I'm trying to start the conversation and work on how I can better better make my conversations when doing dialogues with other event planners or organizers. I can better communicate what I'm looking for and see if this is a good fit for how I can serve them.
Excellent. And before we wrap up, what is the best way for people who are watching to reach you to learn more about kindness and workplace wellness?
I think the best way to learn more about me is by just Googling my name, Brandon Burbank. It says on the screen here. And I have a book that I've published. I have a YouTube channel that's been going for like 5 years. And then I have a LinkedIn, and I have all the information. It's on Google. You can find me on Brandon Burbank, just Googling me.
Excellent. And before we go, what final piece of wisdom do you have for everyone?
The final piece of wisdom I would say is treat kindness with others that you work with, because you never know what people are experiencing.
That's awesome, Brandon. I really do believe in the power of kindness and its effect on company culture. Again, Brandon, thank you for joining us. Really enjoyed our conversation. And to everyone out there, we truly hope you found valuable insight from our conversation. Please share this with other leaders or managers who can benefit from those insights. And thank you again, everyone, for watching. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you again in the next episode. Thank you again, Brandon, and thank you, everyone.